do this. Hello, everybody. This is Jack from tofluency.com. Welcome to this live English lesson where I'm going to talk about a few differences between the UK and the US. Now, I've already made one of these videos. I made it a couple of days ago where I talked about some of the differences. So please check that out. But this is just a fun theme to use at the moment and to talk about. And I really want your feedback on this. So please let me know what things are like in your country where you are. Okay, talking about these types of different situations. I'm just going to open up the live chat so I can see what is happening with the chat box. And if you are here live, then please leave comments in that little chat area. So welcome. It is Friday afternoon. I'm just finishing up for the week. So to finish up means to do the things to end your week. Some people say, for example, I'm just finishing up at work. It means they have a couple more things to do before they go home. So I'm just finishing up for the week. Although I'm probably going to work tomorrow and Sunday because this is what I do. But I wanted to go live here on YouTube. So say hello if you are here. Let's talk about some cultural differences. And firstly, I want to talk about drinking. Now, when people say I want to talk about drinking, then they're most likely referring to alcohol. So we're not just talking about coffee or tea or water. We're talking about alcohol here. Because there are many differences between the UK and the US when it comes to drinking. Now, the first big difference is the legal age. So in the UK, you can drink legally at 18. So you can go to a bar or a restaurant or to a shop and buy a drink, buy alcohol when you are 18. In the US, you have to be 21. You have to be 21 to buy drink, to buy alcohol. And because of this as well, alcohol is a lot stricter here. The way people see alcohol is different in the UK and the US. So in the UK, from my experience, it's more part of social situations. And people will have a drink if they go to a restaurant. They'll have a drink at home. Now, I'm not talking about heavy drinking here. We'll talk about that in a second. But just generally speaking, when you have a glass of wine at a restaurant, from what people say, it's not as common here in the US. However, I live in a town, a city, which is known for its beer. This is Beer City, USA, Asheville, North Carolina. So things are a little bit different here, I feel. And there are also a lot of tourists as well. Another good example is at any kind of college event in the US, there is never drinking allowed. So even though students are 21 and 22 in their last year, there is no alcohol at the end of year party, the official end of year party. There's no alcohol at any kind of event. There's no alcohol on campus. You can't take alcohol onto the college campus. In the UK, that is completely different. For example, every university in the UK has what is called a students' union, okay? The student union. And this involves a bar and sometimes a nightclub. I went to Leeds University and I worked at the nightclub that was right in the middle of campus. It was right in the middle of the university campus. There was an English-style pub in the basement. There was a fancy cocktail bar. And then there was also a nightclub. And I used to work at the nightclub. And actually, I remember Americans coming to this nightclub because they studied at Leeds University, and they went crazy because they could legally drink in the UK, even though they were 19. So in the US, this doesn't happen. You don't have alcohol on campus. It's very rare to see. And I think legally they don't have this either. Before I continue, I'm just going to go into the comment section. We have a lot of people here. Toral, we have Chris Lane, William, a name I can't pronounce. It's in Russian. Got Jose here, Omar, Post Blue, and Marcelo. So thank you everyone who is here live. What we're doing is we're talking about the difference between the UK and the US, specifically today, drinking culture. So to summarize what we've talked about so far, you have to be 18 in the UK to drink. In the US, you have to be 21. Also, alcohol isn't part of official university life. You know, in the US, you've probably seen those films where they have these parties at college. You know, I'm trying to think of a specific film, but there are so many films where they have house parties and they drink at house parties. That happens a lot in the US, but they don't have official bars and pubs on campus, you know, at the university. Now, strangely enough, one of the differences as well is the overall view of drink driving, okay? And this is where you have something to drink and then you drive. Now, it's obviously illegal in the UK and in the US. You can't do this. You can't have so much alcohol and then drive your car. And it's illegal in most countries, the vast majority of countries too. However, people in the UK are very strict about this. So I remember when I was, 18 or 19 or 20, and if someone had more than one beer, or if they had 2 beers, then they would never drive home. It just didn't happen. And this is not just for, educated people. It seems to be for everyone. And this is a really interesting thing. So in the UK, people don't do this. Obviously, some people do, but generally speaking, it's not common. People don't do this. In the US, it's a little bit different. And it is more common to see people have a few beers and drive home. Get drunk and then drive home. It just is one of those things. I think the law is more or less the same. And the punishments are the same as well. But it's just more socially acceptable to do that here. It's more socially acceptable to drink and drive in the US. So I see people do it all the time here. It's very common to see. But obviously it's still illegal and it's not recommended either. For example, the other day, I had 2 beers with my friend. We went to watch a soccer game or a football game, another difference. And I told my wife, I said, sorry, I had these 2 beers. I thought they weren't very strong, but they were strong beers. So my wife picked me up in the car and I left my car in the parking lot, which is just over here. I left it overnight. So because I'm from the UK, it's not something that I do. It's not something that I feel comfortable with because it's part of my culture. It's part of my upbringing. It's what I learned while I lived in the UK. But no, in the US, this does happen here. I'm just going to go into the comment section. Joselide is here. Good to have you. We have more people from Russia who I can't pronounce their names. Maybe Max, if I do the translation. Elio says, hello, everybody. I'm from Argentina. Good to have you. Chris Lane says, yeah, we saw a lot of things in the movies about American college. And now my mum said that I will never go to an American university. Fantastic sentence there. Thank you for sharing that. And then Joselide says Brazilian people are forbidden to drink alcohol and drive. Most people are stubborn and they don't follow this rule. So again, it's socially acceptable maybe to do it, even though it's against the law, which is interesting. Someone says mentality is different. And yeah, Chris Lane says, my mum said I'll never go to an American college because of the movies. Now, growing up, I watched a lot of those American movies, and it always intrigued me. I was always curious about if this was going to be real. You know, if those movies were true and what happened in the movies actually happened in real life. Now, obviously, it's a little bit more... in movies, it's not quite the truth. They usually exaggerate things. I'm thinking about American Pie, for example, with the parties. However, the house parties in America are fantastic. I don't remember the last time I went to one, but when I was about 24 and I spent a lot of time traveling here in the US, I went to a lot of these house parties, and yeah, they were so much fun. They had those red plastic cups that people use, and they also have kegs too. Now, kegs are those things like this, like little barrels, and you pump it and then you pour your beer. That's not that common in the UK, but it's very common here. Justly says, if you're caught by the police, you pay a fee or a fine. Yeah, so you pay a fine if you get caught driving under the influence of alcohol, if you get caught drunk driving. Very good. So differences with alcohol, which is kind of ironic, but it's more socially acceptable to drink in the UK, you know, in certain situations, whereas it's more socially acceptable to drink and drive here in the US. So that's a really interesting distinction. Now, a stereotype of America in terms of the UK is that America has terrible beer. So we get beer in the UK, which is like Budweiser, those types of things. And British people think that American beer is terrible. Now, as I said before, I find it to be the opposite. In America, or where I live especially, the beer is fantastic. It's really good. There are a lot of craft breweries, companies that make beer, and they make very special types of beer. So there are a lot of these craft breweries here in the US. And the stereotype is that the beer is terrible because of Budweiser and different types of beer like Coors Light too, but it's fantastic here. Let's go back to the comment section. Carrie says, why are those cups red? I'm not quite sure, but I learned something about them the other day. Now, these red cups, let me get a picture for you guys to see. Let's have a look. Red plastic cups. This is a live lesson for anyone watching. And I find it very difficult to multitask. I'm going to show you a picture, and hopefully I can get one. Here we go. With the lines on them. Perfect. So, bear with me while I share my screen. I'm just going to do window capture. Okay. I'm going to show you a picture of these red plastic cups. So you can see that now. If I move over this way, then that helps. But what we have here is what's interesting about it, and hopefully you can see my mouse on here too. I don't think so. But you can see the different lines on them. And I learned something about this, and I can't remember what it is specifically, but the first line at the bottom is how much vodka or hard alcohol, liquor, you should put in. Whiskey, vodka, something like that. So that gives you the indication of how much you should put in. And then the different lines are, I think, for wine, beer, and something else. I can't remember. But those lines help you put in the right amount of liquid into the cup, which is a really cool thing. Now I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to do this live. This might, hopefully this will work okay. I actually spelt it incorrectly. It's called beer pong. And hopefully when I go on the images, it won't be too bad. We won't see anything scandalous. No. Let's do this one. So this is beer pong, okay? And what this is, this happens at American house parties. And you fill up those cups with beer, and then you stand on the other side of the table, and you get a ping pong ball, a table tennis ball, and you have to throw them, like this guy is doing, into the cup. And then if someone gets it into my cup, I have to drink that beer. So that's just an interesting game that I started to play in America, and it's a really fun game. You know, I really enjoyed doing that. Let's go back to the comment section. Josie says some people try to pay in cash, a bribe. Okay, this is a word. So if you get caught driving under the influence of alcohol, then in certain countries you can give money to the policeman, and they say, okay, continue. We don't have any problems here. And that is called a bribe. Francisco says, first of all, congratulations for your next bunny. Oh, baby. Baby. Fantastic. So yeah, here, my wife is due to give birth in about 2 weeks. So I need to keep checking my phone in case she calls me. And I might have to end this lesson here if I have to go. But no, she's due in 2 weeks, so we're expecting a second child very soon. Omar says, I wish alcohol could be allowed in the Arab world, in public places. Yeah, in certain places in the Middle East and in Asia, alcohol is banned. It's not allowed in certain places. But you wish that wasn't true. Manuel says, is it true that if you ask for 2 beers in British with 2 fingers up, it's a bad sign? So I'm not going to do it. Oh, sorry about that. But this is good. This is the peace sign. So you can say, 2 beers, please. 2 beers, please. Sorry about the focus. Hopefully it'll bring me back into focus. Maybe you've been drinking too much alcohol and you can't see clearly. There I am. I'm back. But if you do it in the other way, then this is rude. It's like giving the middle finger. So if you do it in the other way, it's giving the middle finger. So it can be quite rude. But you can use it the way I just said. Now, usually when you're ordering beer, or if you're ordering any kind of alcohol or any drinks, then you'll learn in phrase books to say things like, can I have 2 beers, please? Or I would like 2 beers. Now we're using the countable form of this, beers, even though in general beer is uncountable. But what you're saying really is, can I have 2 pints of beer, please? Can I have 2 glasses of beer, please? Can I have 2 beers? So it's just used in that way. My focus is going strangely, which is ironic when we are talking about alcohol. Let me try and fix this focus for you all. And I'm going to continue speaking a little bit. Yeah, it's trying to focus on the background now. This is fun. This is one of the things I need to work out exactly how to get this focus correct. But there we go. So let me fix this. And you're going to see all my controls on my camera. I can see my battery life as well, which is good. And I'll find out how much battery I've got. Okay, so just ignore everything else at the moment. But yeah, when you go to a bar or restaurant, you just say, can I have 2 beers, please? That is very common. But you can also just say, 2 beers, please. And usually people who work in these bars and restaurants and pubs, they're usually very busy. And, it just depends on the situation. If they're really busy, then you can just say 2 beers, please. 2 glasses of wine. But if you want to add a little bit more, in the UK, it's very common to say, can I have 2 beers, please? Can I have a Budweiser and a Coors Light? So it's very common to use that as well. It just all depends on the person behind the bar, how talkative they seem, how busy they are as well. But there are many ways to order drinks, many ways to order anything really, no matter where you are. Let's go back to the comment section, see what, people are talking about this. Christina, hi Jack, this is a good lesson. Thank you for being here. Chris Lane says, I prefer British University. By the way, my mum is super exaggerated. Yeah, in the UK, don't tell her, but in the UK, alcohol is a huge part of university as well. Some people are saying that the camera is a little bit drunk. And Jocelyn says, I'm feeling drunk with that screen. Yeah, I'm sorry about the focus. I keep checking now on my screen over here. Now, a couple of things here. To feel drunk, to be drunk, to get drunk. So these are 3 ways we can talk about the feeling that you get after drinking alcohol. It's common just to say, I'm drunk at the moment, or I was drunk last night. I got drunk last night. I got drunk a couple of days ago. I got really drunk when I was 18. Those types of things. And another good word to use here while we're talking about drinking is hangover, to have a hangover. A hangover is that headache you get after drinking too much alcohol. Manuel says, Chelsea versus Liverpool is about to start. Are you going to watch it? I think I'm going to watch the second half. I'm finishing up work. So I'm finishing up a few things, like I said at the start of the lesson. Then I'll watch the second half. Omar says, every day I'm tipsy. Very cool. So to be tipsy means to be a little bit drunk. So you can get tipsy after having half a beer or a beer. In the US, it's also very common to say to get buzzed. Okay, to get buzzed. I'm feeling buzzed. And that's when you just have a little bit. And for me, that's the best feeling. When you're drunk, it's not a good feeling to have. Habib is here. Good to have you. Francisco, said hangover. Yep, talking about hangover here. So there are some good differences there, talking about the UK and the US when it comes to drinking. So if you're watching the replay of this, then please leave any comments that you have below. If you're watching live, thank you for being here again. Got quite a lot of people watching live, which is great. And I'll go live again soon. So have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for being here.